amount of depression, if you look, for all the studies that have been done, it doubled, in just the past couple of years alone. So that tells you we have a serious problem in society right now with learning how to deal with stress, with fear, and that most people are running on autopilot, and they are, living a life where they just are afraid, to really feel into those emotions, to figure out, why, do we have so much separation in society where, you go outside, I'll tell you, for me, when I traveled a lot through South America and other countries, I found, compared to America, to other countries, you go outside, you walk in the street, everybody in South America, I swear, they're all hola, ¿cómo estás? They offer you, do you want to come, into my house? They'll welcome you. Do you want some food? Do you want this? They're all so welcoming and so warming. When I grew up in Philly, and also spent a lot of time in New York City, you go on the streets there, it's get the out of my way, man. It's really like that, So Miami's different. I love it here, but still, that tells you as well, just a lot of conditioning to just kind of go about your daily life, just do what you got to do. It's not really about having true connection, even to yourself, let alone to the outside world and the people around you. And obviously with phones and technology nowadays, I can't sit here and say I knew a time when that wasn't the case, because from the time I was very young, iPhones have been around. But yeah, you can see it just everywhere you walk. Just most people can't even look up, to see what's going on around them and acknowledge the people around them. And then I just want to also say, when we talk about running on autopilot versus being, stressed out and not being able to navigate through that, there's a difference, I think, between running on autopilot and just being numb. So for me, when I think about being on autopilot, we all have a subconscious mind and we have a conscious mind. And if you look at the studies, people that I've learned from, I love Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and people like them, you could definitely look into that work. But any study, if you look online, so you can see at least 95%, if not even up to 99% of all of our actions and thoughts come from our subconscious every single day. We have consistent thoughts so much to where you can almost predict, how your day is going to look like, or someone else could be able to predict it if they just were able to kind of study your thought patterns. And that's actually what certain people do, and when they're creating, ways on how to market and manipulate you into making certain choices. And even studies that have been done on this, which I'm not going to get too much into, but you can even look up, CIA experiments with mind control, and, it's funny, it's called the Monarch Edge. There's a Monarch program that was done by the CIA in the 70s, all studying about our brains and our thought patterns and how can we subconsciously, subliminally program certain messages into commercials, into the news, into every fabric of our society to condition people to think in a way where they ultimately become docile and they don't think for themselves anymore, and they become subservient and obedient to the system. It's a real thing you can look up, so without getting too much into that, just knowing that that is kind of how things are. And so the best way to reprogram that and start to take control back, if you look up those kinds of figures, and even what I've done, like I mentioned about Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, they all talk about epigenetics and how we all have genes that we can program that are more powerful than what we've been given. If you think about nurture versus nature, we do have the power to completely reprogram and rewire our entire DNA. And there's some people that talk about, having superhuman abilities to just know things before they happen, intuition and telepathy and remote viewing, all those abilities, they come from you being able to tap deep into your subconscious mind. Think about where the fears are that you've been dealing with since you were a child, all the traumas, all the things that you hold on to, and learning how to just sit with them, not try to change them. That's the huge difference I had to learn. When I was starting to do meditation, it's not how do I change these thoughts or get rid of them? How do I observe them enough to where I can become the observer and look from the outside in and be like, where did these thoughts come from? Are they even real? Am I in actual immediate danger or threat in any sort of way? like 99% of the time it's no. And all animals in nature, they don't deal with fear unless they're in an actual like dangerous situation. So yeah, that tells you right there, we're just a lot of times running these stories in our mind. So when you start to sit with that, that's the ultimate way I could say how you can reprogram that stress and that numbness, and then eventually you'll be like, okay, this is not true. I can rewrite that story and tell myself whatever I want and reprogram myself for success.
Right, perfect. Doctor. Yeah, you can get it out. And you can pass that mic down again, please. And then we'll finish.
So just to clarify, you're talking about the difference between
being numb and how you pulled yourself out of that numbness or autopilot if you haven't experienced the numbness, which I think we all have.
Yeah. So, with numbness, of course, that can be like a protective mechanism. It's not. It's important, like what Benny was saying, is to have honest people around you that will give you good feedback from a place of sincerity because they care. Because sometimes we don't see it ourselves, so we need to somehow be aware of it. And that's why I keep going back to that word awareness. Awareness is key to all of it. And a tool that I've used, and there's many, so I encourage people to explore and see what fits for you, is knowing that it's a choice. And when I say I choose to feel, I choose to think, I choose to act or not act, it gives me the empowerment to know I have a choice. So if I know I can choose to feel numb, or if I can feel anxious, or I can feel this, can I also choose to feel calm, or choose to feel well, or choose to feel blissful or joyful? That's also available to me. So when I use that word before I do anything, is that I choose X, Y, and Z, it brings the power back to me. Otherwise, it feels like it's outsourced somewhere else. Someone else has your power, something has your power. They don't even know you have it, so how can they give it back? Right? So it's like asking everyone else to go to therapy so you can feel better. That's not going to happen. And so, again, it goes back to that full responsibility, which at first can feel a bit overwhelming. So, leave me, I have responsibility. All of my feel, yeah, they're yours. But then it becomes liberating and empowering. And that's what I think is empowering. Realizing we're never limited, we're always whole, we're always holy, we're always complete. And it's okay to go through different phases. It's not about being a robot, it's not about this thing called perfection, which is not a human trait, by the way. It's about progress. And it's about also being compassionate with ourselves too, that there is a human component to us, and we gotta honor that. So when I have something come through, I honor it, and then I investigate. I'm much better at it, than I used to be. Sometimes I had a time at least and take residency for a while. I'm like, no more, I'm not doing that. You wanna show up for a minute? It means there's something that needs my awareness that I wasn't aware of. So I appreciate that it's showing me something about myself to help me get further along to where I've always wanted to be. Because where we want to be and where we are two different people. And sometimes we need to be compatible, otherwise we'd already be in that place. So these things come into our life to create awareness to teach us. And there's a simple saying, I can either be wounded or wise. So I ask, do I want wisdom or do I want wound? Right? I know what I'm choosing, so I know it's my choice. So now my brain is just automatically wired. It sees it even as it's coming. I don't have to wait to have hindsight, now it's foresight. So that took some practice and preparation and repetition to do. So when I'm even in the midst of something, it's uncomfortable or this, my mind is already looking for the wisdom, the growth, and realizing that life is always for me. That's a big thing too, because you got to go back to core beliefs. Is life against you or is it for you? If it's against you, we got to start there. Because nothing you see or experience is actually going to be, a positive or a worthwhile event for you. You're going to have lenses that blind you to see the truth of what it is. But if you realize life is always happening for you, even in the challenges, even in the pain, there's going to be growth, there's preparation, it's preparing you for where you want to be, because if I just take you from point A to point B, it may not be sustainable. Say, I need you to develop a couple more ingredients first. I need you to trust the process. And I'm preparing you for everything you've asked for and beyond what you can imagine. Just trust that this is all happening for you. If you can install that one belief, your mind will start now seeking. Because everything's available. Like I said, you can find the wound everywhere, you can find the horrible, you can find the complaints, about it, about the appreciation. Even in the midst of pain, even in the midst of grief, it's always there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that response. Benny, we'll wrap up with you.
I think, so if I'm numb in an area, I want to ask, why am I numb in that area? I don't want to just, you can't be numb about everything. You know what I mean? I think I think if you're numb, like, well, like, why am I not caring in the relationship? You